So the last one is the Shropshire Blue. It's like Halloween. It's so beautiful. It's so festive. You have your red wine, you have your orange and blue cheese. Go Who's, go blue cheese. It's all the good things we like. Big wine, big cheese. As my father mentioned, I was kind of pushing this more for the Pinot Noir, but after he tasted both, he wanted to bring it in for the El Scott. So we are interested to see what you guys think. It should be creamy, salty, and then a little background spice. You may be wondering where that orange comes from. It's the cheese did not just grow to become orange. They actually add something called annatto. It's a seed that comes from a shrub in Africa. It's very, very commonly added to cheeses, like your favorite Kraft cheddar, like some other cheeses that are a little bit more orangey than perhaps they should be. And the reason this was done is because traditionally in cheese making and in cheese consumption, more yellowish cheeses were preferable because it indicated more beta carotene in the milk, which equals more butter fat. So cows that were eating fresh grass in the summer as opposed to hay in the winter, their milk was preferential. So you have more of a yellowish kind of color that comes from the natural grass and herbs and wildflowers that they're finding in the pasture versus just the general, bland hay. So that's why when you're looking at really old cheeses like Comté that we tasted last time, customers might ask me if it's a summer milk or a winter milk. So you can actually look and you see that one is more ivory and the other one is more kind of yellowish, not to the extent of being bright orange, but there is definitely a color difference that was taken into modern cheese making and kind of incorporated. It really does not much for the flavor. It's really more of a color element. It kind of will add a little bit of a spiciness to the product that you guys might get on the palate, but really it is just a way to make the cheese stand out, a way to make the color more interesting. As you could say, I wouldn't necessarily say more pleasurable. Sometimes orange cheeses are a little off-putting. But this cheese is coming from England. It was originated in 1930. It's very similar to Blue Stilton. So I think maybe a lot of you are familiar with Blue Stilton. It's a pretty common English farmhouse cheese. It's pretty crumbly. So by adding the annatto, you're actually making the cheese a little bit more creamier than a Stilton, a little bit more fuller. And then obviously the color is coming through. So it is a pretty flavorful cheese, but the creaminess is really what I was hoping to highlight to bring out kind of the tannins. And I really think the spiciness kind of pulls up the little bit of Malbec that there is in this wine. So I'll let you guys, and I'll get myself a little taste and we'll see what we think.
Well, I still think I was right about the decision. I think this is a great pairing. The El Scott has, a real nice earthiness to it, and the tannins and the structure just, I think, really are enhanced. Everything comes out a little bit more, but when you have this cheese first and taste the wine, it really brings out the wine more than any other of the pairings. So the wine, El Scott, is a blend of Tannat, Merlot, Malbec, and this vintage has some Cabernet Sauvignon as well in 2014. Usually it's just those three. Occasionally in some vintages I might blend in either a little Petit Verdot as well, but for the most part it's the three varietals. And then occasionally we have, I might add like Cabernet Sauvignon or Petit Verdot, depends on the vintage and what needs to be blended into it to make, bring it out a little bit better. So this is aged for 2 years, and it's 50 to 60% new oak in the aging. And so it's really, this is a big wine. This is one of our, this and Tannat and Petit Verdot are our three biggest wines. But as this ages, now to 2014, I'm starting to see a little more of the earthiness come through. It has a slight touch of Brett, if you're familiar with that characteristic in it, but that really kind of what, the earthiness that you get is kind of that characteristic. So I think with the blue aspect of this, it really pairs nicely. Anyone agree or disagree?
Yes, go ahead and after you taste this pairing, switch it up, switch it and reverse it, see what you think. For this wine, what other holiday kind of specialties could it go with? Like what, you know, what holiday meals, what holiday flavor profiles?
Sure, I'm muted.
I think this is a great stew. Any kind of you know, mushrooms in a stew, beef, something again with good, a lot of texture, like short ribs or beef bourguignon. I think all that would pair nicely with this wine.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna take it to you guys. Let's pull this. What do we think? What do we think of this pairing? What do we think of the idea of mixing it up?
I think that
go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Louise.
Louise.
I think the pairing as the final pairing works. I just went back and tasted the third wine, and it's nice, but it's not as good as the Elscott.
I agree.
And I think that, first of all, I have to say I like all the wines and I like all the cheeses. I thought the first two wine, and I've tasted the cheeses with all the different, you know, I've tried to combine them all to see what I liked. And I think particularly the first two pairings were terrific. They were the right ones for the wine and the cheese together. It really worked wonderfully. And I liked the last one a lot, although I thought that the blue cheese also, I'm sorry to call it blue cheese, but you know what it is.
It's okay.
It also works well with the other red wine. I have to say that the first red and the, I guess it's Manchego, I like them both, and they work fine. They weren't to me a thrill, which the other pairings were, the way they were done. I thought they were really wonderful.
I would love with this last pairing to make gougères with this Shropshire Blue and pair it with the Scott.
I eat a lot of gougère. That could be very good. I am a kind of part of the Burgundy diet. So that would make a fun colored gougère though. Very good. Okay, well then it's good to have that feedback because I think that it's important for us to know that. So I have a tally. I am not, you know, doing as well. I have 0 points and there are 3 points for my father, but it's good to know, and it's, you know, it's great to have, you know, the affirmation that, you know, in case when it works and when it doesn't work.
Hannah, what was it that made you want to, now that we've tasted them, what was it that made you want to switch the wines?
So for me, I when I was looking at the cheeses, I thought, you know, the Manchego, since it was a 14 months, was going to be pretty strong, pretty salty. And for me, I thought it was going to be a little bit more sheepy. So I thought it was going to be a bit bolder than the creamy blue. So because it was going to be bolder and saltier, I wanted to do it with the bigger wine, with the more tannins, to kind of match the tannins and the really large fruit notes with the saltier cheese. But then I think it might have been too salty and maybe too kind of counterbalanced. But I do think the blue could also go with the Pinot Noir. It goes, you know, with things. No? Okay, well then no.
Just tried it.
I originally wanted the blue with the Pinot Noir because I wanted like those subtle red fruits and the creaminess of the blue to balance each other out.
I think Hannah, if it was a different Pinot, it would work. I think the Maison Deuce is a little too elegant for it. I think if it was a Pommard or Nuit Saint Georges or something like that, it would work. But with the Maison, I think it's just the Maison Deuce too elegant, too it's lighter style, and the blue really just kind of numbs the wine. It kind of just makes so.
And that's a good point. When you are playing with old world Pinots, every single parcel creates a different Pinot Noir. So when you're reading about cheeses and they say, you know, the experts suggest with a full bodied or an old world Pinot, they don't tell you which vineyard site. So it's up to us to kind of determine what we think pairs well. And, you know, it seems that we kind of, by switching them, we made for a better match.
Yeah, I think this would work great with a bigger Pinot Noir, but not with this one. So, yeah. Other comments?
Did you record? Are these recordings available for future watching? I don't know that I made notes for the last tasting, which was the first one I did, thanks to Michelle and Wayne introducing me to this.
Ivy?
And It
Yeah,
was just,
on
you know,
YouTube.
it was so wonderful. And I can't find my notes. And I was hoping that maybe these were available for viewing again to go back and look at when we weren't drinking.
Yes, they are available on YouTube. We do have a YouTube account, and all of the pairings so far, and a lot of our, I think almost all of our virtual tastings are on there as well. They're only in 15-minute increments, so it's kind of, you have to watch about 4 of them, but they're up there. And this one should be posted Monday or Tuesday.
Any other comments on the pairings?
Hey, Hannah, a question on the blue cheese processing.
Yes.
When is the blue added? And is this change on different cheeses, the blue cheese?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for blue cheese making, the cheese, while it's being made, so in the part before the coagulation of the milk with the coagulant, the rennet, they've actually added some spores or a dusting of a blue mold. So there's the really common one called Penicillium roqueforti. So that's what we had in our last one with the Roquefort blue. It's a trademarked kind of blue mold that they build from molding rye bread. They actually collect it from the inside of the molding bread and then they add it to the cheese making process. So for this one, I don't think it's Penicillium roqueforti. It's going to be a different type of penicillium, but the spores are added to the cheese. Then the cheese is made as cheese normally would. And then when it's in its final form, once it's been pressed, and a lot of the moisture is reduced, so they actually pierce it all over, all the way through with stainless steel needles. And what this does is actually let oxygen come in and react with the spores that were already inside. So without that piercing, it wouldn't have the blue lines. The blue lines are really where the needles went through, the very clean stainless steel needles, allowing oxygen to react with the mold and allowing it to grow. I think if you didn't pierce it, either it wouldn't react or it would kind of mold from the inside and not create the beautiful blue striations that you see. So it's a combination of an added element and then that piercing step to make what we call the veins.
And the answer to Michael's question, more pairings, please.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, we should, we'd love suggestions. I mean, we talked about just doing a blue cheese, right, Hannah? And then
We did, there was a lot of interest in blue cheese.
just the blue cheese, and then